A couple of weeks ago, the Department of Justice abruptly terminating community-based violence intervention and prevention initiative grants known as CVIPI, part of more than $500 million in funding awards eliminated at the Bureau of Justice Assistance. This signaled a dangerous shift away from community-based public safety solutions. This decision also undermined years of progress and violence reduction, especially in Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities that have borne the brunt of gun violence. We understand that community violence intervention works, not just across the country, not just in other cities and states, but it is working here, right in the great state of Louisiana, in areas like New Orleans and in Baton Rouge. Community violence intervention programs have contributed to record drops in many cities across the country, but because of local leadership and credible messengers, and the local leaders and credible messengers that you see today, all here are working to reduce violence and really uplift the new notion of community-based public safety. I'm honored to stand among some amazing individuals with lived experience that are being a catalyst in their community to interrupt the violence, often with the lack of recognition, with the lack of acknowledgement, but most importantly, with the lack of funding and resources. I'm also honored to be amongst our legislators and lawmakers who are not only concerned about their constituents in their district, but they're really going on a journey with us to build community-based public safety and really believes in community violence intervention. We understand that CVI allows us to ask deeper questions. Instead of why you did it, we ask what happened to you. We begin to look at violence through a public health lens and understanding that violence is only the symptom to other grave root causes. So with me, I have Senator Regina Barrow, representing District 15. I have Senator Royce Duplessis, District 5. I have former Baton Rouge Police Department Chief Murphy Paul. I have Dr.Kim Mosby with VERA in New Orleans. I have Tamara Jackson with New Orleans Silence is Violence Organization. I have Reverend Kelly with RR Ministries. I have Ardana Winbush with Pivot for Peace. And last but not least, I have Khoury Brown with the Baton Rouge Community Street Teams. Senator Mayor, I'll pass it to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to join this group, but not excited about the task at hand. As I think about the work that I have had the opportunity to do throughout my year, I think about the time when I worked as an executive director of an organization called Rise Up Louisiana that was specifically geared toward young people. And one thing that I saw with those young people is that oftentimes when given the proper tools and the opportunities, they soared. Unfortunately, throughout the years, I've seen that decline. And over the last couple of years, we have made great strides under our previous mayor in terms of those investments in our community. It really breaks my heart when I think about now the cuts that we are facing throughout, not just in this state, but across the country as it relates to investment in young people. A time when we need to invest more than ever before because the challenges that our young people face. They have things that they didn't have 20 years ago, such as social media and other exterior issues that really kind of pointed to the influence upon their life, not to mention the rapid growth of drugs and the easy access to them. And unfortunately, fentanyl, which has grown so much in our communities. And it does not discriminate based on color, economics, or what side of the railroad you may come from. So there are so many things that we have as challenges, and what we do not need to do is cut funding. We need to invest more, provide more hope for our young people. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. Our children, when they are born, they do not desire to become individuals who are not successful. Their hope when they are born is to become something great. But throughout life, challenges happen, and they begin to lose hope and begin to think that there is nothing that they can do or no recourse for their life. And they become hopeless. And as a result of that hopelessness, they give up. And what I am encouraging is that we don't give up on them. That we show them an array of light and let them know that their life has purpose and give them the opportunity to grow to thrive and to become what they was purposed to do. And so I stand here after just leaving the Capitol, looking at the budget, seeing how much money has been actually put into the Office of Juvenile Justice as opposed to education. And those are the kind of points that we have to, as legislators, turn the tides on. So I'm asking you that as you continue to do the great work that God's called you to do, that you help us to put our hand to the plow to make sure that we give you all the resources necessary, and rather than incarcerating, that we are educated. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Royce Duplessis. I have the great honor and privilege of serving as state senator for District 5, which encompasses New Orleans and parts of Jefferson Parish. As an elected leader, I stand alongside my colleagues, Senator Barrow, Representative Larvadain from Alexandria, a former chief, Murphy Paul. I recognize as government officials, we get sort of put at the front of the program and we get the spotlight, if you will. I put air quotes around spotlight, but I want to put the focus and the spotlight where it should be, and it's along you all who are here today on the front lines doing the real work, all right? Because that's what CBI is about. It's about people who are closest to the issue coming up with the solutions for our community. What we know is that violence intervention cannot be solved through sirens and handcuffs. It takes trust and healing. That's what true crime prevention and interventions requires. It saves lives and it builds stronger communities from the inside out. So what is CVI? This is not a theory. This is something that's proven. We've seen the data. We've heard the stories. We've witnessed the impact. CVI programs reduce shootings. It interrupts retaliation, and it provides pathways out of violence by meeting people where they are, especially those who are highest at risk. Last year, with the support of organizations like Equal Justice, I authored legislation to try to help move our state in a different direction. Because we've been the best at incarceration. Nobody can teach us how to incarcerate better than Louisiana. I mean, he literally wrote the book. We ain't no safer as a result. So we're doing something wrong. So this legislation that I offered last year is one step to try to begin to institutionalize violence intervention and prevention strategies in Louisiana. Because we cannot afford to leave our safety up to politics as we've done for so long. We need something sustained, something evidence-based, and solutions that are rooted in our communities, not just the typical cycles of enforcement. So currently, we're facing $3.7 million of funding being cut from organizations who are doing the work. Those aren't words, they are doing the work. That's not a budget cut. That's a blow to the heart of our public safety infrastructure. And it means fewer credible messengers, fewer conflict interrupters, and fewer resources for trauma recovery. You see, Chief Paul, he's going to tell us that public safety is not just the job of police. It's the work of all of us. That includes outreach workers, intervention specialists, social workers, and neighborhoods who step up to interrupt violence before it happens. We have to fund this ecosystem. And we know better that we cannot arrest our way out of this problem. We cannot arrest our way out of violence. So that means we have to address poverty, trauma, disconnection, and historic inequity, which is the very root cause that CVI is designed to try to address. We cannot cut our way to safety. These cuts are dangerous, and they're going to have real impact. We have to build safety one person at a time, one block at a time, and with the people who know their communities best, the people I'm standing alongside of. It's important that we fund CVI. I stand with every effort to sustain community violence intervention and to stand against these dangerous cuts. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Murphy, Paul, former Chief of Police, Baton Rouge Police Department. And, you know, as a former Chief of Police, I know firsthand that lasting public safety doesn't come from enforcement alone. It's built through trust, collaboration, and investing in our community. As a true partnership between law enforcement and communities, community violence intervention programs are not only an invaluable public safety tool, but it also helps extend our reach into communities to achieve our shared goals of stopping violence. Partnering with community-based violence intervention groups is smart policing, and it amplifies our ability to prevent violence and protect communities. You know, you heard the senators talk about the boots on the ground, those who are around us right now who are doing the work. And when we first began investing in these initiatives and the organizations and the individuals that are standing with us today, we saw results. We knew that our evidence-based law enforcement-led violence reduction strategies were working, but it wasn't until we began to see the synergy through the training and all the efforts of everybody around here that we began to see real reductions in crime. There's a local organization called Vinformatics Analytics that provided data in 22 and 23 when we really were at the height of these programs, getting the training done, and we saw double-digit decreases in violent crime in the Baton Rouge community. Those are facts. More than 40%, double the national average. Those were facts. We have to continue to promote these programs because they not only prevent and reduce shootings and retaliations and homicides, but because they also help reduce violence by not only helping the victims of crime, but the perpetrators as well for preventing crime. And when we look at where we were and where we are, I think it's important for us to learn from our past. And I can tell you, when I was the chief and we were policing during the pandemic, that emotions were flared. And those emotions were fear, shock, and confusion. And when we went through that period, when our normalcy was interrupted, we saw crime go up. And when we were challenged with this, not only in Baton Rouge, but communities all across America, even in rural America, we had to respond. And what we did here in the city of Baton Rouge, we responded to the emotions of fear, shock, and confusion with resources, resolve, and reassurance. That is what CVI does. That's what it did for this community. And it's the appropriate response. It provided resources to family members that were looking for safe spaces so they can go to someone to prevent the next shooting from happening. It provided resolve to the family member who had a loved one who was suffering from that monster called addiction and they needed help. It demonstrated reassurance to our police officers, letting them know that they are not alone in this fight. And that crime isn't just a police issue, it's a community issue. And I'm concerned because when I speak to my pastor, when I speak to my loved ones, when I speak to members in this community, we are experiencing those same emotions again. Those same emotions of fear, shock, and confusion. And we cannot abandon the strategy and resources that helped us get out of a significant emotional event in America. That is what these programs did. Now is not the time to abandon these programs. We must support them. We must continue to work with these organizations because it not only provides safety to the community, but to our officers as well. So I think it's important that we acknowledge that everybody who's listening, to call your representatives, call your legislators, call your elected officials, and urge them to reinstate the community violence intervention and prevention initiative grants that were terminated because the cuts to these programs will increase crime, put both the public and our police officers at risk. And I can tell you, as we today in DC this week, we are celebrating Police Week. And we got law enforcement leaders all around the country that are acknowledging our heroes, that are acknowledging the great work that police officers do and those who made that ultimate sacrifice. I think it's important to recognize how these programs are directly tied to officer safety. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Kim Mosby. I'm the Associate Director of Research at VERA Institute of Justice in the Louisiana office. VERA is an organization that advocates for data-informed policy decisions to reduce mass incarceration and to ensure that all people are treated with dignity. At VERA, we know being serious about safety requires investing in communities because a thriving community is a safe community. Research shows that community-based violence intervention programs work to stop shootings and to save lives. They work because they address the root causes of violence and use credible messengers to help connect people to the resources to make sure they have a roof over their head, a full belly when they go to bed, a good job with a living wage, to access to good schools, and mental health care. People in Louisiana know that safety is knowing your neighbors and being connected to your community. If incarceration created safety, we would be the safest nation in the world. But we're not. If we're going to get serious about safety, we need to invest in the programs that work. New Orleans has led the nation in the decrease in violent crime using a public health approach that relies on community-based violence intervention and prevention work done by a Rouge village, the New Orleans peace disasters. They go into communities and help those at the highest risk connect to resources to meet their basic needs and offer mentorship to help change attitudes and behaviors before violence happens. They also work to de-escalate tensions, to stop retaliations, and do conflict mediations to resolve disputes without violence. If leaders in Louisiana want to create safe, thriving communities, they must invest in the things that keep us safe. Affordable housing, quality education for all ages, living wage jobs, mental health care, and community-based violence intervention programs. This investment must come at all levels of the government and needs to be robust and long-term to support sustainability. We have seen that when violence intervention programs end, the violence returns because we still have ring the Khoury. We have people who don't have homes. We have people who don't have food, who have no hope of getting a job that pays enough for them to survive, and who have no access to mental health care to heal for trauma. We call on our state, local, and federal leaders to show us that they are serious about safety by using our tax dollars to invest in the programs and services that keep us safe. Restore federal funding for CVI programs and create dedicated local and state funds for community-based violence intervention and prevention programs. We need you to do this today.
I am the Executive Director of Silences Violence and also a grantee with EJUSA, and the current cut has directly impacted our organization's capacity to provide supportive services to victims. One thing I want to share with you that Silences Violence has been in existence for 19 years. And for 19 years, we have done the work. We have met with families, we had homicide scenes, we had the hospital offering support at bedside. Now, the tragedy of the funding cut has definitely impacted us in ways that I can't even explain. How do we tell a family, I'm sorry, I can no longer support you because the organization no longer has funding? How do you tell a detective that has a witness that needs to be safely stored away so they can survive that I can no longer support this effort because we cannot afford to put witnesses in hotels any longer? Just this week alone, New Orleans has had, today is Thursday, and the day is not over. We had 5 homicides this week, 15 non-fatal shootings. New Orleans. What message are we sending when we say, let's cut community violence intervention and prevention program? When violence is at your door, when your families are impacted, your friends are impacted, you are seeking resources. You don't want nobody telling you, I'm sorry, I can't support you. I'm sorry, I can't assist you. The message needs to be different. Together we stand in the gaps for those who cannot be the voice for themselves. We urge you today, community leaders who are standing here with us, we thank you for your courage and taking a stand with organizations who are the boots on the ground. But we encourage the community, our neighbors, our faith-based partners to say something. Solicit your neighbors, your family members. This we cannot stand for. As we stand together as a group, we also need to take a stand and say, this is not the answer. We cannot allow this budget cut to detour the efforts of this great state. All of the progress that we have made is now looking like it's going down the drain. We have taken 10 steps backwards with all of the efforts we have made to make sure that our community is safe, that our youth is invested, and so they can thrive and survive. We want Louisiana back like never before. Violence-free, and people able to survive and thrive and have a voice. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Anthony Kelly. I am the chairman and CEO for the Reclamation and Restoration Ministries here in Baton Rouge. The CVI, as we indicated, initiative was launched under the Biden-Harris administration with a bipartisan appropriation of funds to support evidence-based, community-led strategies to reduce violence. In fiscal year 2022 and through 2024, at that time, $200 million were allocated to CVIPI grantees through the DOJ's Bureau of Justice Assistance. Of the $3.7 million of discretionary grants awarded in Louisiana, the Reclamation and Restoration Ministries fortunately received over 40% of those funds. In fact, we received $1.5 billion to operate as a community-based violence prevention project in Baton Rouge. The city received $2 million. And that's why you see these people around here who are committed through their programming, some serving as sub-grantees, some visionaries, and some doing the work on the ground. And Reclamation and Restoration Ministries is excited about this collaboration that we have initiated in this community, in this state, to get the funds returned. I do want to say that we are impacted, and I'm here to say how Reclamation and Restoration Ministries was impacted, being one of the major supporters or major organizations that was funded in this community. I want you to know, first of all, that our second cohort of justice involved and high risk, I mean very high risk young men, could not finish their vocational training at Baton Rouge Community College. They only had 2 more sessions to complete their NCCER training to get their requirements for employment by second chance employers. Second, the Ready for Life operational office had to vacate its rented premises on April 30th, since no allocated funds were available to pay for rent, utilities, phone, internet, cable service, and all other related past this date because of the termination on April 22nd. Unable to pay for storage space, for office furniture and programming supplies, RRM had to sell its entire office furniture at the last minute, nearly 60% discounted to another nonprofit corporation at the 12th hour, just one day before we had to move out. Fortunately, the balance of allocated funds for April allowed us to close out and provide funds for professional movers. We had to pay for shipping and moving supplies. Electrical and construction professionals had to come and remove installed equipment and disassemble the desks in order to be moved. Utilities, ADT, security, we had to pay what we had left. But thirdly and finally, we'll cover some legal contractual issues, and I know that's impacting other organizations whose funding was terminated. We have contractual responsibilities still. Cops Communication, Baton Rouge Community College, Digital FX, where we were renting the office space and even being threatened by a lawsuit. No CBI project or program should have to carry this burden created by the termination of appropriated federal CDI funds. We know there's 3 focus areas: enhancing community safety, violence interruption, and of course, providing crucial resources to our communities. This loss of funding means we will not be able to continue to provide said services, resources, and support in historically underserved communities in Baton Rouge. And so we eagerly encourage those of you who will support our programming around our state that we might continue to make a difference in terms of bringing a sense of health, a sense of wholeness, a sense of hope to underserved communities in our areas. Thank you so very much.
Interrupters. And as violence interrupters, we are trusted messengers. We come from the communities we serve, and that trust allows us to de-escalate conflict where traditional systems are often fall short. CBI addresses root causes, not just symptoms. We connect individuals to resources like mental health, housing, education, employment, addressing the conditions that fuel cycles of violence. Cutting funds put frontline workers and communities at risk. Without support, we risk losing trained interrupters, weakening our ability to respond immediately if tensions rise or a shooting occurs. The work is proactive, not reactive. We don't wait for violence to happen. We're in schools, hospitals, homes, and neighborhoods daily, building relationships and preventing crises before they begin. Survivors and communities deserve alternates to policing. CBI programs offer a community-based, non-punitive approach that centers healing and restoration instead of incarceration. Young people are watching. When they see credible adults committed to peace, mentorship, and leadership, they follow suit. CBI is about investing in their futures. This is a matter of racial and economic justice. Gun violence disproportionately affects Black and brown communities. Defunding CBI is a step backwards in addressing disparities. The data backs us up. Cities that have invested in CBI, like Oakland, New York, Chicago, even New Orleans, have seen measurable declines in shootings and homicides. Every life saved that a family kept whole. Behind every statistic is a person, a family, a community. Our work isn't abstract. It's deeply personal. We don't just want to respond to violence. We want to transform our communities. CBI is about changing the narrative from trauma to healing, from fear to hope, from crisis to opportunity.
My name is Khoury Brown. I'm an Irish interventionist lead with the Baton Rouge Strategist team. And I'm sure y'all all heard beautiful words expressed by the people that came to the podium today. I'm going to give y'all a different approach. I just want to speak on the impact that the work has had on my life. When I came into this work, didn't know why I was here, what was going on in my life was going on. But through this work, I have gained a quality of life that I never had. I I appreciate the people I talk to. I appreciate the people I help. I appreciate God waking me up every morning. I do the same thing all the time. A lot of these people up here are trained professionals, and I would say we specialize in prophesizing, not profit lying. We stand on business. This city is a city that's beautiful. We come from a lot, same time we endured a lot. These funds, yeah, we have bills, but at the end of the day, these funds really guarantee us going out doing what we need to do. This birth wasn't created by anybody standing up here. This is all God's birth. People up here are 100% chosen by him and chosen to be in the paths the rooms and conversations that they're in. I just want y'all to just take a moment to sit back and just think about the lives that we've impacted, the people who are counting on us, even the people who are watching this, hope that we get the right turnout for this. I just ask one thing. Y'all keep us in y'all prayers. It's like y'all human, we human too. And our initial goal is to save human society at kids. That's all I got. Good.
So as we close out, I want to thank our elected officials, our legislators. I know Representative Edward Lardana didn't say anything. He's standing in solidarity with us. And I want to most importantly thank, as Senator Duplessis said, our people that are putting their lives on the front line every day, right? These organizers working with some of the most highest risk young people, or just the community in general, when they're talking about violence prevention. Our folks that are on the front line working with survivors. I want to thank them and uplift them because, again, as you heard, we understand that funding got cut, but they were already operating off of limited funding, right? This work is as crucial as any other public safety official that is out there. So as we close, this is a call to action, not just to our federal administration to reinstate the dollars, but this is a call to action to our state legislators, some who already support the work that is up here, to be able to sustain community violence intervention. And let me be clear. Community violence intervention is not just happening in Baton Rouge or New Orleans. It's also happening in other areas like Shreveport and Bogalusa. Folks that are doing amazing work out there every day, not only to uplift the community that they're working with, but to be able to provide different pathways and pathways towards healing. And so we appreciate the media coming out. We appreciate our amazing national partners, Community Justice Action Fund and Cities United, who are also doing amazing work. And we just, again, I appreciate all of you guys that are standing up here because you could have been anywhere else. This is just a signal of how much you care and love your community. And so with that, I close and I say thank you all.